what it reads in French. This is to the heroic French soldiers, defenders of the fatherland and of the rights, the glorious liberators of Alsace, Alsatia and the Lorraine. So it's just an homage to the French soldiers, heroic and glorious.
So why is it?
The Germans didn't want to sign the Treaty of Versailles. They felt they had a raw deal, and they were foot dragging. And by this time, what was going on? Third Army was already sitting in Koblenz, and they had divisions strung out. 5th Division was in Luxembourg. 33rd was, I think, in Belgium. And the bulk of Third Army was, the 1st Division, 2nd Division, 3rd Division, 32nd Division, and 1 or 2 more divisions up in there. So in late June, about 23rd or 24th of 1919, Pershing finally had enough. And he says, look, we're going to end this thing now. So what he did is he put the Third Army on a full alert. And I've got photographs that were taken by a Marine that was in the 96 Company. And I've actually got them throwing, they're rucking up. They're getting ready to go to war. And they were told, march towards the neutral zone. Don't, just keep going till I tell you to stop.
We're gonna head that way.
And what happened was they, the 3rd Division was actually going to get on trains at Koblenz, and they were going to make a mad dash towards Leipzig and stop and hold it, while the rest of the 3rd Army was coming in right behind them, and they were going right to Berlin. And Pershing was not hiding. He told the Germans, we're coming. If you don't sign this, war's starting right now. And on June 26, 1919, right there is where they signed it. That's it. And war was officially over. So this was Hitler's, like I said, James is going to tell you more, but we all know, if you're a historian, yeah, that was Hitler's #1 thing he wanted gone. And he wasn't playing. I remember, I think he blew it up. I remember. Yeah, he blew it up. So that rail car was there for at least 23 years. Yep. He made a beeline right for here. Yeah, I say
this was the location of the Armistice Train used to sign the treaty at the end of World War I, and then where Hitler made the French sign the surrender at the beginning of World War II.
Well, the thing was, World War I, he was the big hoorah, but you're lucky to oh my God. This went in, I think, about 1902.
War briefly, and about the Germans, Prussians leaving that nasty message that the French didn't like, marching down through the Champs-Élysées was something that, had ramifications. And these two countries just seem to like to leave messages to each other. So you saw the memorial over there, and that bird with the sword through it, that's the German bird of war. So after the French had the armistice, they left that nice little message to the Germans. Didn't play well. And then they left this message. Would you translate, please, Casey?
Yes, and I went ahead and translated it in advance because it's much prettier when you don't do it right on the spot. So this reads, here on 11 November 1918 succumbed the criminal pride of the German Imperium, vanquished by the free peoples which it intended to enslave.
All right.
Very good.
So, Hitler fought in World War I, and then when, basically the gist of this is, over here you have a representation of where the German rail car was and where the French rail car was. They would meet twice. They would meet for the armistice to sign the treaty, and then when Hitler overran France with his boys, he came here and he wanted to have the French surrender right here as a little message back to France. And so Hitler came here and he looked around and he hated this. So he told his troops to take sledgehammers and break this up, which they did. You can see it's kind of been redone. he had him smash that monument down there and put a flag over it. Basically anything that was showing, he had him draped with something. He wanted to erase the memory of it. He left Foch over there, who was the commander of the Allied forces in 1914, well, not in 14, but roughly 16 to 18. The guy who commanded finishing the Germans. He left Foch there, and they said, the troops said, "You want us to destroy that statue?" He says, "No, leave that there. Let him look upon what he wrought. Let him look at what has happened, you know, for all of this and the celebration of them defeating us in 18. Let him view that for all time." So you have your statue of Foch over there. You got your rail car representations. Have a walk around, take a look at it. We're going to meet.
The other tanks you see during World War I don't have this basic concept. What you're used to seeing are probably the giant British land ships with these tracks that go all the way around the outside of the vehicle. They have a crew of 6 or 8 guys inside and gun sponsons all over the place. This was much more, it was more mobile, it was smaller. You had a 2-man crew, you had a driver inside this front compartment with the handles, and you had a commander gunner who literally, he's standing there inside the turret. He's got a little sling that he can sit on. And they armed these either with a 37mm cannon or with that Hotchkiss 8mm machine gun. That was the standard French machine gun for the war. The French actually went into World War I with a couple of domestic production machine guns made by the Saint-Étienne arsenal that were not very good and were extremely expensive and time-consuming to make. And when the war broke out, the Hotchkiss company was a private company, actually founded by an American, who came over here to Europe because the American military wasn't interested in stuff that he was making. And the Hotchkiss company developed this gun, and they sold it internationally starting around 1900. When World War I breaks out, the French army is in serious need of a lot more machine gun production, and they reluctantly decide to adopt the Hotchkiss gun, which they had rejected before the war because they didn't want to pay royalties to a private company, basically. And it would turn out to be a very robust, durable, and reliable machine gun. The big difference between it and the main other Allied machine guns is that it was air-cooled. It didn't have a water cooling jacket on it, which somewhat limited its sustained firepower, but it also has a really heavy barrel. You can see some big round donuts right where it goes into the turret there. That's just metal to absorb heat, to keep the gun cool longer. And then every 1,000 rounds they were supposed to sponge it down with water to cool the barrel.
Real quick one, the Army actually went into combat with. First unit they actually went into combat with it was the 301st Tank Brigade Light Tank Corps AEF. That was the 341st, 326th and 327 tank battalions, who were commanded by somebody famous who actually fought here right down the road, Colonel George S. Patton Jr. And as a matter of fact, when we go to Soissons later today, this is the very first tank that Marines and soldiers of the 2nd Division actually encountered in combat. It would be the first time they ever went into combat with tanks. So, yeah, this is the predecessor, the great-great-grandfather of the M1 main battle tank. So this is it.
It can go about 3 miles an hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you go about as fast as you can walk.
Yep.
And a hell of a target.
It looks comfy inside, I won't lie. It looks
Okay, we are at Verdun. This is Fort Dumont, one of the French forts that was surrounding Verdun during the battle. It's a very large fort. You can see here some of the original barbed wire. You can see the ground over there where it was shelled, the shell holes. More of the barbed wire. Firing positions.
Right, we're walking there. Sure, yeah. Stay here. Okay. Boop, you're fine.
Okay, we're on the top of Fort Dumont now. And up here you can see some of the fortifications on top of the fort where they would put more of the heavy weapons. And you can see the concrete pillbox for machine guns. It's been pretty heavily damaged by shells. And you can see artillery shell holes still in the ground here. And they tell everybody to keep to the paths because there's still thousands of unexploded shells in the area, even to this day. All right, here's a better view. We're at the very top of the fort now, and you can see all the artillery shell damage up here. Got a close-up of one of the pillboxes here. You can see shell hole damage here. What we have here is a French fort that was used during World War I, and the French defended this for quite a long time. The Germans had tried to take it, and actually that marker over there with the helmet marks the closest they ever came to taking the fort. It has earthen walls, which is kind of odd for this time period. This is a video from the walls of the fort showing what kind of view they had of the approaching Germans. Lots of wide open territory. And over there is the marker showing the extent of the German advance, how far they ever made it. Alright, so you can see the far end of the wall here. And up here you can see an observation bunker. Just barely make that out up there. French school kids coming to visit the museum. The view from the lower level, once again showing the open ground that the fort covered. And this is the wall that I was standing on earlier, where I shot the video from. And due to some shooting down here at the corner, this is the far end of the fort, showing the trench and some other fortifications down there at the end.
Just breathe.
Some of these say water. So these would be specific to a regiment then, the ones that call it water. So there's actually, there's one to March 7th. There's a couple of deaths here ones. I don't know what the fur compensation versus the.
This is Fort DeVoe, and what it is, it's one of the forts in the Verdun area, and it's described as the French Alamo because the fort was surrounded and there was no way the French could help relieve it. So the people in the fort held out as long as they could against the German attack until they finally ended up having to surrender. Oh, and we have a wild animal fox.
You don't want to walk the tortoise. That's not good.
Okay, here we are on the top of Fort DeVoe. You can see that the fort had a heavy artillery pounding against it. You can see all the shell holes, craters down there. Basically, you really see the size of the fort from up here. Here's either a pillbox or an observation bunker at the top of the fort. So what we have here is the communications room in the fort, and then we go out and we go to the messenger pigeon area where they kept their messenger pigeons, or the cell phones of World War I. There's a downstairs area down there. Not much access. This is the Fort Commander's office. Very small area. This is where the arms were stacked when they weren't in use. Guns and everything. This is the medical area. You can see down these hallways, this was a fairly big fort. And the floors are wet due to the condensation. And the temperature in here is probably about 20, at least 20 degrees difference than the outside right now. Looks like a guard post was set up here to watch the back of the fort. This opens up to the outside, which seems to be a really bad design.
Anything in there?
Yeah, it opens up to the outside there. Really weird.
Yeah, it's a powder ring. So, yeah, what did you guys see the shower room? Yeah, that's the shower room. Surprisingly, there's. Wow, look at that. Look at that.
Stalactites growing from the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you guys see the shower room there?
Yeah, you're going to need a lot of that to maintain.
Yeah, a forest this large.
259. Yeah, it's the bathroom.
Opens up into the back of the fort into unsafe areas, so it's shut off from the public.
Yeah.
And powder rooms.
You know, I haven't seen a shit house.
All right, this is the casemate area of the fort where their heavy cannon artillery was kept, or used at.
Otherwise, yeah, imagine the size of the shelter go out there, probably 8 tall, so that'll really crowd this area.
Yeah. That's 1897 quick firing cannon. French 75. Maybe take a picture. Okay.
Either some kind of pipe or electric wire.
The forest is reclaimed.
Ceiling in this area is pretty low.
They're most likely a telephone cable.
Yeah, and telephone lines, you know, As you go down,
back down the hallways.
you can see these things.
Now you can get an idea of how large the fort is. You can see the hallways here without anyone in it. And how far it stretches down before it curves out of sight. All right, tonight we are in Verdun, and that's our hotel right there. And this is the Meuse River. And we're going to walk across the river to the restaurant area tonight. We may be getting a storm here soon. First time it'll have rained since we've been here in almost a week. I mean, either here or London. Alright, what we're looking at here is part of the Verdun battlefield from the museum. A lot of the trees are grown up in it now, but if you walk out there, you can still see the shell holes in the ground.
All the Steins. Wow. Wow. They took, man, a lot of those lids took a direct hit. Oh my God. That one there. Man, that's definitely a hit. Damn.
They used them immediately. And they only took them off because they got and they didn't have more.
Yeah, the medical cabinet? Yeah.
Actual like remains still in there. There's in some of these bottles there's still like
ID cards.
Old dog tags.
Yeah, German dog tags.
Sometimes I take a nice pack of you. I know they wash it in my house. Once in a while I take one. Casey, though, so you're talking to